Hey, I'm Deb.
Hey, and I'm Karen, and we're here to answer all of your real estate questions with the same thoughtful advice that we would give our friends. Deb, what is today's question?
Today's question is, what the heck is escrow? When I was 25 years old,
Yesterday.
just yesterday, I did a brief stint in Kansas City. We don't talk about that. But I remember my dad coming to visit and asking him the question because it was my first real job in an office and wore little suits and all that good stuff. And I thought, well, next thing to do is buy a house. And so I was trying to figure out the home buying process. First time buyer, no clue, right? No one ever teaches you this stuff. And I remember my dad coming to visit and I asked him, I said, what does escrow mean? Like one of those words that you've heard, you just really can't figure out what exactly it means. So whenever I do homebuyer classes and homebuyer education, I always end with, what the heck does escrow mean? So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we do that, there's some other real estate related, mortgage related vocabulary words. I think we may do this a couple of times, like a couple of different videos, because there are a lot of terms that you probably hear. And we'll find too that in some areas the word's used differently. So I'm going to let Karen share with us the first word or phrase, or what do you call it?
Acronyms, alphabet soup, whatever.
Alphabet soup.
Yeah, we have on the lending side, everything is an acronym. I can only speak to the mortgage, loans and things like that, because that's all I know, for the past 20 some years here. But I'm sure in everyone's profession, there are always these shortcut acronym abbreviations. But in our world, it's always something. So I thought I'd start with DTI. So that stands for debt to income. And sometimes I have to stop myself when I'm talking to someone because it just rolls off the tongue. I'm like, we got to make sure your DTI is within the guidelines. And I have to go, wait a minute, they don't know what the hell that is. So debt to income.
Or they might know what it is, but they don't know how it's figured.
Calculated or
yes.
But I'm just catching myself going, well, let me at least use the full word first and then be like, oh, that's debt to income or DTI. Yeah. So what that means is when we're looking at qualifying somebody for a loan, we're taking all of their existing monthly debts plus the proposed mortgage payment, and we divide that into their gross monthly income. It comes out with a percentage, and that whatever that percentage is, it has to stay below the guideline for that particular loan. It's called debt to income, DTI. So sometimes, yeah.
It's funny when you said that, because then I was like, oh, there's another word that I don't know it takes me a while to think about gross income.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like gross net, which is which. Why I still can't keep that straight. I always have to, it's like right and left. I'm not one of those people that can say right and left. I have to look at my hands and see which one makes the L and know which one's left. So I have to stop and go gross. Gross is the bigger one.
I think because I'm always typing it out, like if we're emailing or texting someone and I want to be super clear, because sometimes we'll be like, no, my income is whatever, every 2 weeks, because we know what we're bringing home. Right. And I'm like, is that really your income? Because I know that they're probably just looking at, hey, my last paycheck was $2,000, but their, gross income was higher. So I just want to make sure that people know, if we're trying to tweak and figure out how we can get someone approved, it's coming down a lot of times to that debt to income ratio.
Okay, Karen, that's DTI. What's our next alphabet soup word?
So the next one I want to cover is PITI.
Wait, why are so many I's and T's?
I'm not sure why we want to cross all the I's and T's, I suppose. I have no idea.
There you go.
But PITI just stands for principal, interest, taxes, insurance. And those are the components that go into someone's mortgage payment. So when we are looking at qualifying you and going back to that debt to income term we just did, we are looking at all those components, the taxes, the insurance, and of course the principal and interest of what actually pays back the mortgage.
Gotcha. So it's not just one of the things that there are many things in this world that drive me crazy, but one of the things that drive me crazy is when you look at mortgage calculators online, sometimes on real estate websites, it'll say, oh, your projected payment is this amount. and it's assuming huge down payments and really good interest rates and things that may not be true for you. But more importantly, it's only taking into account P&I, typically principal and interest. It's not taking into account your insurance and your taxes. So you may think you can qualify for that payment when you look at your DTI, your debt to income ratio, but you're saying these other things, the taxes and the insurance and probably even HOA dues, homeowner association dues, have to count towards your debt load.
Yeah. So like you brought up HOA dues. So even though the lender's not going to collect the HOA due as part of your monthly payment, but we do have to factor in that expense. And so if you are in a great neighborhood association where you have a lot of amenities or whatever, what if that HOA monthly due is like $200, right? Access to the pool, golf course, gym, whatever, then that can also add, a significant amount of debt to your debt to income ratio.
If anybody in New York is watching this, like New York City, they're going to laugh at us with our $200 a month HOA fees. And we're here in Bloomington, Indiana, like $200 a month. There's like one or two associations that have dues around $400 a month. It's like, but yeah, New York, it's like easily a few thousand. It's crazy. Anyways, okay.
But it's tough with those. Yeah, I was gonna say it's tough with those calculators because when we are out there using those online calculators, and if we don't know anything else, we just know we want to buy a house. Those other factors are definitely important, and that's why it's important to reach out to one of us.
Yep, lender up front, lender and realtor first is what I always say. So. Okay, well, let's talk, and it kind of plays into PITI because principal, interest, taxes, insurance. Where does that taxes and insurance go? Goes into your escrow account.
Yep.
So what the heck does escrow mean? And so just to confuse matters even more, escrow can be used in a variety of ways. So I know of at least 3 ways that escrow is used, but first I'm going to give you the dictionary definition of escrow because that always helped me a little bit. It is the state of being kept in custody or trust, which sounds a little bit like a bad Hallmark movie, but being kept in, I don't know, custody, a basement or whatever. I showed a house last week and they're like, this would be a good basement to keep someone hostage. And I was like, okay, then next house. Anyways, so the state of being kept, and I always say Deb's definition is escrow means something's held in suspension. So it's being held in trust, it's being held in custody. Here's the long definition of it. It's a bond, a deed, or other document that's kept in the custody of a third party and taking effect only when a specified condition has been fulfilled. So in California, and in a John Cougar Mellencamp song, when he says, I got a brand new house in escrow, bonus points if you know the name of that song. Do you know, Karen?
I do not know.
I'm not going to say it. I'm going to make people write in and ask me what song is John Mellencamp. Did I say John Cougar Mellencamp? Sorry. John Mellencamp. Anyways, so John Mellencamp probably owns houses in California and they have probably been in escrow. John Mellencamp owns a house in Bloomington. It's not been in escrow. Same thing. We use the term differently. In California, when you have an accepted offer on a house, and you see this, Karen, I'm sure on $1 million listings.
I love that.
When you have an accepted offer on a house, it gets into this suspension mode where you've got two parties that have some contractual legal interest in this house, the owner and then the person who's under contract to buy it. So it is held in suspension. The seller can't sell it to somebody else because they're in contract with the buyer until the terms of the contract are satisfied, the money's exchanged hands, yada, yada, yada. So that's why they say, I got a brand new house in escrow, Mellencamp. We don't use that term around here. Most people, I've heard of 1 or 2 realtors, but again, I think we watch too much HGTV and that's where that's coming from. We just kind of say, oh, the house is pending, but it's the same concept. So if you hear it on HGTV, that's what they mean by escrow. In our world, we have 2 other ways that the word escrow is typically used. One, you probably won't hear too much about, is every real estate brokerage should have an escrow account. So I have Deb Tomorrow Real Estate. We have an escrow account. When I get earnest money, so I sell a listing, I get an accepted offer on a listing, the buyer's putting down some earnest money just to show that they're serious and kind of hold the house while they do their inspections and get their financing. That money gets deposited into my escrow account. That's guided by all kinds of laws and rules. I can't take the money and go play the ponies. I can't do anything with it. It just sits there and then it comes as a credit at closing, and I can be audited by the state with that escrow account. So it's money that's just being held in suspension. I can't make interest on it. I have to make sure that's in a non-interest bearing account. I can't do anything that would benefit anybody other than these two parties. So that's one way that we hear escrow. But then the other way that we hear escrow is in Karen's world.
Right. So escrow here is we're going to hold in a non-interest bearing account the portion of your payment for the taxes and the insurance. So the property taxes and the homeowner's insurance, we're holding that in an account. And when those bills come due, which are typically annually or sometimes biannually, we're going to pay those out. That is a requirement typically on any loan where you have less than 20% down, going into the loan. But, I mean, you can also waive escrows for a fee, right? So the lender wants to just make sure that those things are being paid. So taxes, insurance are going to be paid when those come due. So that's why they're like, hey, we want to be, I don't want to say in control of it, but we want to control that portion of it to make sure that it's timely payments, because those are things that can be a lien on someone's house. And especially if you have your insurance lapse, something happens to it. Now, who's going to repay that loan? How are you going to reestablish all that? So we want to hold that in escrow, get those paid out when they come due. And like I said, for a fee, they can waive it, we can waive escrows. Usually it's like 10% down. They're like, hey, I've got 10% in, help me. I don't want you guys to hold that. But so we've done that on occasion.
I think most people find it very convenient, though, to be one less thing to worry about and, not have that money sitting there when the furnace goes out and you use it and then you can't pay your property tax bill.
Exactly.
So I always half jokingly explain it to everything lenders do when they're approving you for a mortgage is based on the fact that they don't trust you.
Yes.
And that's good business, right? You kind of go in and risk management. So they take that money and I always do this, and I don't think it makes sense. People are like, what are you doing? I'm holding something in suspension. The money is just being held there in suspension. It is your money, but the lender has some say in how it gets used. And if you sell the house and you've got money sitting in an escrow account, that money comes back to you. It is your money.
Right.
So that is your escrow lesson. So if you've got any other ideas or suggestions of weird words that you have heard in the real estate and mortgage world, we are happy to do our best to explain them. It shouldn't take you 20 years to figure out what the heck escrow means.
2, 1. You trust your best friends to give you good advice.
Consider us your best friends in real estate. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.